Today I'm going to be showing you a few basic features of the software. First things first, this is going to be your main login page. At the bottom of the screen, you're going to notice the clock in out option. This allows you to clock in and clock out of the software, along with some other features as well. You can see here we have the ability to enter our ID, so you can either enter your passcode or you can swipe your employee card. So you're going to see a few features here, like the clock in, clock out, leave for break, and come back from break. Now, in the event that one of your employees forgot to clock out, you can use the emergency clock out feature here, which would force them off the clock. The view report here, you can see this allows you to print out or view the server shift report. The add helper feature is more on the lines of adding tips to several different employees for one employee. So I'm just going to log into the software from here. At this point, you're going to see the table layout screen. So I'm going to show you here a few features at the very top. You're going to see either to go, delivery, walk-in, open order, and bar order. So if you want to click on a table, at the bottom of the screen you have either from 1 to 15 with this layout here. I can choose any of the tables that I want. If I change the software settings, it will not only go to the table, but it's going to prompt me how many guests are sitting there. Now that you're on the menu, you can see here at the very top of the screen, you're going to have your departments. So right now I just have these three, which are pizza, sides, and beverages. When you click on the department, it will give you a list of all the items associated to that department. So if I click on the sides, you can see a list of all of my side options here. Now, first thing is first, it's going to ask me to start my shift. Now, this doesn't have to be, depending on your location. You may not have a cashier, or your employees may be using their own bank. In this case here, I'm going to go in and start my shift. Now, with the employees, if they have the cash bank feature enabled, when they clock in, they're going to get a similar screen. It's just going to ask them how much money are they starting off with. In this case, it's doing the same exact thing. So I got my pennies, nickels, dimes, all the way down to 100. I can put each denomination in. In this case here, I'm going to just leave this all at 0, hit OK, and that's going to start my shift. So now I can start ringing up my orders. Now with regards to pizzas, I'm going to click on the Rocky Pizza. It's going to give me a list of different sizes. So I have personal, small, medium, all the way up to a family size. Each of these sizes will change the pricing of the topping. So I'm going to go and do a small pizza. I can choose my sauce, and I'm going to choose my toppings. You also have the ability to change the halves, thirds, or quarters if you are doing that. And then once you're done, we're just going to hit the done button at the bottom right, and that's going to ring up on the side here. Now a few features I want to kind of go over. Towards the middle, I'm going to ring up a few things here. You're going to have a couple of different options. The change quantity allows you to change the quantity of that selected item. So the fries, if the customer wants more than one, instead of you clicking it more than one time, you can just hit change quantity, and we could change this to 6, for example. So that would times 6 on the price, and you can see now it's $17.94 for the fries. You also have the ability to delete. Now there's a difference between delete and void item. If you delete an item, that's considered a soft void, meaning this hasn't yet gone to the kitchen, so your employees do have the ability to remove an item if it's in that scenario. So I can easily remove the bagel pizza, and there's not going to be a problem. Now if I were to send this order down at the bottom here, it's going to place it on hold. You can see this table will be highlighted, letting you know that it's available or it's being used at this point. So I'm going to go and hit the table. It re-rings everything back up, but if I try and delete it, as you can see, it's going to give me this error message letting me know it's already been sent to the kitchen. If I do want to remove it, I'm going to have to use the void item option underneath that. Now this feature, in most cases, it requires a manager's approval before you can do this. and then it's going to ask you for a reason why you're voiding it. I'm going to say it was a mistake, and then I could also send this to the kitchen. This is just going to be a void ticket that goes to the kitchen, letting them know that this item has been voided off the invoice, and that removes the item. The next is going to be your line discount. So at this point here, I could just go and do a discount on the 20-piece wings. I can either do it as an amount, or I can do a percentage. So in this case here, I'm going to say I'm going to do 10% off. You have to put a reason why you're doing the discount. I'm going to say it's a manager request, and I'm doing 10%. As you can see here, it's going to now go to $17.99. To the right of the screen, you're going to have your discount amount. So it's telling me here that $2 have been discounted from the total amount that it was before. And you can also see that amount at the bottom of the screen here. Discount is $2.16. Underneath that part, you're going to have your comp. A comp is basically making the item free. So let's say a customer had a bad experience, they got the wrong bread. What you can do is say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and comp this large garlic bread for you. So I'm going to click and highlight the item, hit comp. I can either do the current item, which we're going to do now, or you can even do the whole order, which makes the entire order free essentially. In this case, I'm going to say current item, and I have to put a reason why I'm doing a comp. And by the way, this is going to be a manager request feature, meaning you have to have a manager's approval before you can do a comp. So as you can see here, the large garlic bread is 0. It's going to move it over to the right side because it's still going to count it as a discount. So when you go to your reports, you can see exactly what was discounted, which was comped, and so on and so forth. The next option underneath here is going to be your modify price. This allows you to modify the price on the spot. So if your pizza fries, let's say for example, it's not $9.99, maybe it's actually $8.99. Instead of you having to go back into your inventory and make the price adjustment, you can just do this right on the screen. And you have to put a reason why you're doing a modification, which I'm going to say I'm testing. And then the new price, we're going to change this to $8.99. Now, this doesn't do it permanently. This is only for that one invoice. The next time you do it again, you're going to have to keep doing it over and over until you go to the inventory and make that permanent change. The reorder option, this is a cool feature. This allows you to copy an existing item from the invoice. So let's say, for example, you want 2 of these 20-piece wings. I could just go in and hit reorder. And you can see it's going to be a fresh copy of that. And even the modifiers get copied over as well. The transfer option, this allows you to transfer an item or the order to another server, or you could transfer it to a new ticket. So in this case here, let's say I want to transfer these wings to a whole different table. So I transfer here. I'm going to do a table transfer, and I'm just going to do one item. So I'm going to do selected item, and I'm going to choose the 20-piece wings. Hit select. It's going to give me a prompting telling me to choose the table that I want to move it over to. In this case here, I'm going to go to table number 3. You could also transfer this to a walk-in order or to-go order. Doesn't matter. And then I'm going to confirm that I'm going to combine these items to the table. And there it is. This new table now has the 20-piece wings that was transferred over from table number 3. The next option at the bottom here, you can have the ability to recall an order. Now this can only be used on a blank option or a blank invoice. So in this case here, it's going to give me an error message because I don't have a blank order on the screen at this moment. So in order to use this feature, I'm going to go into a standard walk-in order, and then I'm going to hit recall order. And then this is going to give you a list of all of your items or your orders that are currently open. So I could essentially re-ring the item back up and make changes there. The option here is the back office, which I'm going to go into more detail in a different video. You've seen the start end shift here. Here's the clock in and clock out. So any event that an employee needs to clock in, they don't have to go back to the main login page. They could just use this clock in and clock out feature from the invoice screen. It's going to give you the same exact options here. Clock in, clock out, leave for break, come back from break. The more operations, there's a ton of features in here as well. Once you click it here, you can see there's an option to do a order discount. So if I have a bunch of items inside of the invoice screen here, as you can see, it's going to be $11.89. I'm going to go to more operation, order discount, and I'm going to get the ability to do an amount or percentage. So it's the same concepts as the line discount, but instead of it doing one item at a time, this is going to do the entire invoice. So in this case here, I'm going to do a percentage of 10%. And as you can see, this is going to show up on the bottom right here, 10% off of the entire invoice. Back in the more operation, you also have the order notes. This allows you to add a note to the order. So you have these 4 lines which you can add information to. Maybe it's certain things about the customer, things you want to add in, just so that the customer sees that in the invoice. And you also have extended notes, which does the exact same thing. Tax exempt order, very self-explanatory. This allows you to remove the tax from the invoice. So when I hit tax exempt order, I'm going to choose sales tax, hit OK. And when I go back into the order here, you can see the tax has been removed for the order, and it's only $9.88 now. The other option is going to be tax exempt additional items, which is going to follow back to the same concepts, the exempt order. So we don't have to worry about that part here. Last order process is similar to recall. It's just going to go back to the last order that had processed through. Set order total. This is a cool feature. This works out if you have certain items that are on the invoice, but the price is going to be something different that you want to set an exact amount for. So let's say it comes out to $15.99, but there's some price adjustments that need to be done within the back office, and you tell the customer, okay, I'm just going to do everything here for $14, and that's it. I can go in and click here, type in the amount that I want to charge, and then when you go back to the screen, you can see how it's going to adjust the price to match the exact amount that you put in there. Change party size. Now, if you're using the table layout and you put in how many guests are sitting there, let's say it's 2, but then another person comes in there, you can use the change party size and change this to exactly how many guests are sitting there. And then that gets updated in the menu. Apply modified gratuity. This allows you to add a gratuity, either an amount or a percentage, to the entire order. So if it's an amount, I can just say $3 being added to the invoice, and that gets calculated as a gratuity. So this works out very well in the event that the customer is not going to be adding a tip on a credit card. They just want the gratuity to be added into the invoice. No matter how he pays for it, you still get a separate account for how much tips have been added. Reprint kitchen ticket, that's very self-explanatory. In the event that maybe you ran out of paper, you had to replace it, you can reprint the kitchen ticket to go back the same way it was before. And on that ticket, it's going to show at the very top that this is a reprint, so that way they're not confusing this with a new order. Change cashier ID. That's pretty self-explanatory. If the cashier that's currently signed in, as you can see, is a manager, if someone else is going to take the order, you can simply go here, type in the new access code or passcode, and it will change that cashier ID to match the new employee. Open drawer. This is a no sell. So this allows you to open the cash drawer without making a sell. Now this also allows you to put in reasons on why you're opening the cash drawer. The most common reason is just getting change, but in this case here, you could also add your own reasons. So if you have other reasons why you're opening the cash drawer without doing a sell, put that in there so that way it reflects in your reports. Print last receipt, very self-explanatory. Just prints the last receipt that you rang in. Gift receipts for last order, self-explanatory again. You're going to just reprint the last gift receipt. Pullback order. Now this allows you to either view an order that's already been paid out, or it also allows you to make corrections to orders that have already been paid out. So how this works is you have to have a blank order. So there can be nothing in the invoice right now. We're going to go back to the more operation. hit pullback order. Now it's going to ask you to choose the cashier that close the order out. In this case here, I don't have an order that's closed out, so I'm going to just pay one out just to give an example. I'm going to go back into the walk-in order, go into more operation, go to pullback order, and there it is. So I'm the person that rang in the order, and the order number is going to show up on the top of the receipt. So this is going to be order number 5. And then you're going to get 3 options. Either you can view it on the screen, which basically just shows you exactly what was ordered on a screen. You can print a receipt, which is just reprinting the copy of the receipt that already rang through. Or in this case, we're going to do what's called pullback, which allows you to basically recall the order and you can make corrections. So in this case, I'm going to hit pullback. I'm going to confirm that I'm going to do it. And what's going to happen here is it's going to pull back the order as if though I'm ringing it in for the first time. So what's going to happen is this order has already been paid for. So when I hit pay, you're going to see the tender is 0. But you can see on the right side, paid so far is CA, which is abbreviation for cash, the amount of $9.99. Now, even if it was credit card, you would still see the same similar option. It's just going to say CC in the amount. And then it's even going to show the last 4 of the card number that was processed to let you confirm that the amount. So if you had a situation to where you processed the wrong credit card, you can go in and make that correction by removing the payment. And as you can see now, the tender is going to be $9.99. So I can go in and make the correction, use a credit card this time, a gift card, however the payments was supposed to be from the beginning, I can make that change. Now, in the event that this is a pullback from a previous day, you may have issues because if you've already bashed out your credit cards, you cannot go back in and make corrections to that. It's already been settled. The best thing to do is just give a refund. Next is going to be the print void order. Very self-explanatory. Once again, you're just going to have the ability to print out orders that have already been voided out. Reprint order. This is a cool feature because it allows you to search the entire time that you've been using this business. It keeps track of every single item that's been rang in or invoice. So I can go back to a year ago, a couple months ago, however long I want to, and I can go ahead and reprint those receipts on the right side here. If there's payments being already processed, it won't let you reprint it. But you also have the ability to reprint a credit card receipt as well. So when you go to reprint it, it's going to ask if you want to reprint the regular receipt or the credit card receipt. Cash pullout. Now this is if you're using a start shift in. What it allows you to do is if you have too much money in your cash drawer and you want to pull some out, you can click this option here. It's going to tell you exactly how much money you should have in your drawer because it's basing off the amount that you put in for the starting amount plus the amount you've accumulated in cash from your customers. So I should be able to pull out a total of $32.95 at maximum. So in this case, I'm going to say I'm pulling out $10. It's going to ask for the reason why I'm pulling it out. Let's just say we're getting groceries. And I can print a receipt that just kind of gives you a report showing you that it was pulled out. And that records it in information. So that way, when you go to close out your shift, you're not going to come up short by $10 because you recorded that amount in the software. Now, time clock management. This allows you to make corrections to your employees that have clocked in and clocked out. So let's say, for example, I have an employee that just clocked out now. Okay, so you're going to see all the shifts on the side here. So I got the time I came in, the time I left, the hourly wage, this is how much I'm getting paid per hour. If there's an overtime, it's going to show up here as well. How many hours they worked, the regular wages based on that time. So it gives you everything you basically need. So if you need to make a correction, let's say for example, this employee didn't clock in at this time, I'm going to go ahead and just start with the start shift. So on the right side here, I'm going to change the start date. So let's say he actually worked from, it was still the 20th, but he came in at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to make that adjustment here. It's going to change my shift. And then you can see here the time has been changed for the start, but I need to adjust it for the end time. So I'm going to click back on the change start date. And I'm going to still keep it on the 20th, but I'm going to go ahead and move this down to say he left at 3 o'clock p.m. So from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., as you can see, it makes that adjustment, and it gets corrected at the very top here. So in the event that you want to add a shift, let's say for example the employee just never clocked in or clocked out. So what you could do is you can just have them clock in and clock out. It's going to leave a minute or a second apart, but that's good because you can go back in there and then make that correction to it later on. So that way, if they, even if it was from last week and they just forgot to clock in and clock out, just quickly have them clock in and clock out and then make that adjustment within this software here. You can also update your breaks. So if they didn't take a break, they took a break but at the wrong time, you can use this feature here. If the employee clocked in as a different role, this software does allow you to have multiple roles per employee. So they can clock in as a bartender, as a server, as a cook, and they get paid differently because of that. But maybe they clocked in, but they chose to clock in as a bartender instead of as a server. Well, you can go in here and then make that correction so that way it updates it in the reporting side. You can also delete the clocks out and you can delete the entry. So if they clocked in wrong or you were testing the system, you can just go and remove it from here. There's also a clock out report. So this allows you to reprint either the server reliability report or the liability report here. So I can either print it out or I can just display it on the screen. And you can also modify the clock out. So what this does is it allows you to modify the cashier's clock out. This really applies to your servers that are using the cash bank, where they have the money on their person as opposed to using the shift from the cash register. So if they put the wrong count in, if they messed up here and there, you could just make that correction from here. Next is going to be your add credit card tips. Now I don't have the processor set up here, but this allows you to go in and actually apply the tips to every single credit card transaction. So any transaction you do is going to show the last four of the card number, the order number, and the tip amount is going to be on the right side, which you can just double click and add that tip to it. The credit card settlement is going to give you the same screen as the credit card add tips. The reason why is because it wants you to add those tips before you do what's called a batch out. Because that's what the credit card settlement is essentially batching out your credit cards for the night. And then you're going to have your day in. So the day in essentially is just closing out your entire day. Now, what they want you to do is they want you to enter the deposit. So this is the amount that you should have in the drawer after everything is all said and done. It's giving me a negative total because I've messed up with the counts. I've even pulled out money I wasn't supposed to. But as you can see here, I can just enter the correct amount here. Let's say it's actually $25 in my deposit. I'm going to confirm the amount is correct. What it's going to do is it's going to print me a report that's basically going to close out my entire day and then give me a grand total from everything. Now the day in, how this works is it goes back from the last time a day in was made. So let's say you did a day in 2 days ago and you forgot to do it yesterday. Well, when you do the day in the next day, it's going to calculate from the 2 days instead of just a 1. So you're going to make sure that you're doing your day in every single day. The in and out operations, this allows you to do like vendor payouts. If you received money, you can add that into the register from here. If you are doing a drawer transfer, you can do it from here. And credit customer is like refunds. So it allows you to refund the customer by any amount that you put in. So let's say we're going to go into credit the customer. Now you could select the customer that's been added in the software, but in most cases you can just use the standard walk-in customer. You're going to put in the amount that you want to refund. So we'll just say $10, and I'm going to go and do either a cash by credit, or I'm sorry, you can do credit by cash or credit by card. So what I recommend you do first is you insert a description. So the description could be the check number, it can be describing what happened. Just put something in there so that way you can look this back up in your reports and you'll know exactly why the refund was done, who it was done to, and so on and so forth. Your import and export, this is more an advanced feature. Essentially, this allows you to import inventory into the software. We can also do vendors or customers info in there as well, but that's more an advanced feature that we're probably not going to get into. Stock adjustment and stock received. This allows you to do what's called purchase orders. So you can either import it, or you can just go ahead and show your current stock and export it. So this allows you to make the corrections within the export and then import it back, and then it'll update the inventory from here. And if not, you can either scan your barcodes. So if there are barcodes associated to your items, you can scan them and update your inventory. The next is going to be your stock received. This allows you to do what's called a purchase order as well. So I can either put in the stock received date when I received it, the reference number if there is any, a description of it, you put your vendor, and you can either scan your barcode or you can hit the add button, which will just look through your entire inventory. And then you would just put in how many you're receiving, and if there's a received cost, you can put that in there as well. Once you save it, it's going to update your stocks, and that gets added onto your inventory. Sending mass emails. Now, whenever you create a customer, it allows you to enter the customer's email. So if their emails are in there, you can send them out an email. Either you can do it to an individual email, or you can just say, I just want to send an email to all of my customers. Or when you create the customer, you also have the ability to assign them to a customer price level. So you got anywhere from A through Z. So any price level you choose, it works out because it allows you to send an email based on that price level. So in this case here, if you have customers that are set for F, which could stand for frequent customers, or S could stand for senior citizens, you would just select that price level. And just like a basic email, you have the ability to add a subject and then put in a message here. Once it's in, it'll send it out to your customers and they'll receive the email pretty shortly. Reports. Once you click reports here, you're going to see on the left side you have a list of reports you can choose from. Every report has its own category. So these are just the category of cells. If I want, I can go into my payments. This gives me more reports, as you can see. This is more for your credit card reports. So it shows you exactly how much credit card detail have been from each employee. You can see the credit card batch, the payment type summary. If I go into my customers, I can see all of my customers' info, the account summaries, customer sales details, bonus points for loyalty plans and things like that. Inventory just gives you a list of all of your inventory, the most popular items, the top selling items if you want, stock reports. Additional gives you like your customer served accounts, vendors. So each report is just very self-explanatory. Basic gives you like your hourly sales, what you're doing hour by hour, and even destination sales. So any report that you want to access, you click on it. You could choose the from date and the to, and I can go back from last week, last month, 20 years ago if I want. And I'm just going to hit show at the bottom. I can either show it as a full report or receipt. If you print it out if you show it as a full report, it's probably because you plan on printing it out on a full-size printer. So the report is going to be different. It's going to show a little bit smaller in the text, but it's going to be a bigger report overall. But it's going to show the same information as a receipt. So the receipt is basically as if you plan on printing it out to your receipt printer, and the font is obviously going to be a little bit bigger and it's going to be more blown out, but shaped in the size of a receipt. So you can see here, this report here is just going to give me my undiscounted sales, net sales. If I scroll down, it gives you my tips, breakdown by payment types. So it gives you a lot of information just on this one report. It even gives you a breakdown by departments and void sales. If I scroll down here, they have an order operation log. Same concepts here. I can go back to any time period, hit show, and the order operation is going to give you more the lines of what you're doing on the side, like your discounts, your deletions, void items, opening the cash for. It gives you a lot of information on that, so that way you know exactly who did it. So let's say, for example, this is the comps. So I did a comp earlier, so it tells me the date that was done, the time, the item code, the exact name of the item, who did it, which is the manager, and there's that reason code to why it was done, which was a manager request. Then you got your deletions. So deletions are different from voids. So voids are if you're just voiding an item that's already been sent to the kitchen. But a deletion could be a mistake that was done. This is still considered a soft void, so it has been sent to the kitchen, but you still may want to know who's deleting items, so that way if there's any discrepancies, maybe they were trying to give away free food, you can see when an item was deleted. And same thing goes for your discounts, and then there's that void. Now back to the order screen here. As you can see, I'm using the table layout, but at the very top you're going to have a few features like your to-go, delivery, walk-in order, and bar order. To-go essentially is going to allow you to create a new customer. Now you can either use this feature where it allows you to create a new customer, add their name, their phone number. Address is not really important, but you can add that as well. Now we can change the software up a bit here. I go into my store settings here, and what I'm going to do is going to set this up to where it's using a quick way of doing to-go. So now when I go back in here, I'm going to just exit out and come back in. Go to my to-go, hit new. As you can see, it's only going to ask me for the customer name. So I'll say the customer's name is John, and it goes right into the menu, just like that. And when you look at the receipt, you're going to see the table, or the customer is going to be John. And then when you ring them up, at the bottom here, you're going to have a couple different options. We have either hold, print, check, search customer, coupons, discount, send, and void. And then obviously you got your pay. Hold just essentially allows you to hold the order. Now, when you see hold, you get a little bit confused because you're like, should I hold it or should I hit send? Now, holding allows you to hold it, but it doesn't send it to the kitchen. This could work out in your favor because you may have a customer that says, you know what, I want to bring in that steak burger, but I don't want it to go to the kitchen for another 10 minutes. So this way, the cooks don't get it yet until you hit the send button. Now, where this gets confusing is because if your employees are clicking the hold button instead of send, thinking it's going to the kitchen, that's not what's happening. So make sure your employees are aware of the holding feature and sending feature. Sending obviously will send it out to the kitchen, and then you'll notice if you see this arrow here, that basically means that it's already been sent to the kitchen. So if I bring up something else here, there's no arrow, which lets you know that this is a new order that hasn't been sent yet. Print check is the same concepts as your sending feature, because it does send it to the kitchen, but it also prints a guest check immediately. So this is for those customers that want to just see exactly what the total is so far, and they also want to go to the kitchen. You would use the print check feature. This also works for items. It doesn't have to be done at the first try here. You can, let's say for example, you've already rang in a bunch of items, and the customer just says, I want to get my receipt now. So you go back to the order, just hit print check, and even though these items have already been sent to the kitchen, I can still hit print check to print out the guest check immediately. Search customer. If you would like the system to track your invoices by the customers, I can go into my search customer here. I can choose the customer, or I can just create a new one, give them a name, give them a phone number. There's other information in here as well, like the account info, which allows you to create an account for the customer, or you can put invoices onto that account, so they're not paying immediately now, they're paying later on. And then you can also make those payments and send out the statements from here as well. Coupons. Now this allows you, I don't have any coupons in here now, but I can just create one real quick. I'm just going to go to my coupon builder. Do a new coupon. We'll just say it's a senior discount. And the amount is going to be a percentage of 10. And then I'm going to apply all the departments to it. So at the bottom here, I'm just going to click on the coupons. And then I'm going to just use the senior discount I just created. And then I'm going to select the item that I want to apply the coupon to. Let's say it's going to be added onto the bagel pizza. Hit select, and there it is. So senior discount, and it's going to discount 50 cents because that's 10% of that. Now, this discount button does not work, but it's going to be used for essentially discounting your entire invoice by a certain amount of money, or a percentage. And then you have your void here, which voids the entire invoice. The void item just only does the single items here, so I can just go and void just one item at a time, or I can void the entire invoice. Once you're ready to pay for it, I'm just going to hit pay here. You're going to see your grand total, which is going to be $33. And at this point here, I can just go and either pay it out as the amount that they gave me, which maybe they gave me $35. I'm going to type in that amount, and then I can either hit cash, credit card, check, whichever payment type you want to choose in here. Now, if they paid you in separate amounts here, let's say they paid you $10 in cash and the rest on credit card, I can type in $10 here, hit cash. It's going to move the cash over as paid so far, and then leave you with the grand total at $23. Which at this point, you can just go in and pay this out as credit card, and that closes the invoice out. Now, if you have a scenario where, let's say your customer wants to split the check, I'm just going to reopen this one here, hit pay, and then there's a split check option here. It's extremely easy. You're going to see a list of all the items onto one check, what this one is here. I'm going to move the fries over to the next check. Now, because there's multiple quantities here, it's going to ask me how many am I moving over. I'm going to say all 6. Then I can just move this from one side to the other, and then you'll notice it creates another check just in case I wanted to add it to a third person. Now, what you can also do is you could split an item altogether. So let's say, for example, these guys are going to share the fries pizza. So I click on the fries pizza. I'm going to say split by quantity. And what's going to take me here is what's called a divide quantity screen. So what I can do is I can either split it up evenly, where I just say the first check is going to get 50%, and then the next check is going to pay the other 50%. Or if you have one check that says, I want to pay 75% of it, then you can click on the check first, hit 75, and then the other guy's going to pay the 25. Hit apply, and then you notice here you got fries pizza, which this guy's paying $7.30, and then the other guy's paying $2.43. Once you're done, hit the done button here. You can either hold the check, print the check, or you can just pay it out altogether. In this case here, I'm just going to go ahead and hold it. And then at any point, you can go back and recall the order, and then you'll see it's going to be split up already. So we got these items here that are split. Once I'm ready to pay for it, hit pay, and then it's going to ask you which checks are you going to pay out first. Because this is a check that have already been closed out during the day in, it's not going to let me do it, but if this is a brand new order, you will see that option to pay it out one at a time. So at the very top here, you're going to have the delivery option as well. Now we're going to go into another video on how to do your delivery tracking, but delivery concepts is very easy. You hit new, enter the customer's phone number. You can enter the customer's name and the address. Now you obviously have the ability to look at a map if you want to, where it just shows you exactly where this location is from your business. Once you're complete, just hit save here, and that just takes you right to the menu. So very easy. If there's a delivery charge, it will be added on automatically. Your walk-in order. The walk-in order is essentially if a customer comes in, they don't want to give their name, they just want to get something quick and easy, it's better to use the walk-in order. If they do want to give your name, maybe it's a to-go order, you would use the to-go feature. A ball order is similar to go, but it just opens up a tab where if you want to, you could assign what's called a pre-authorization, where it pre-authorizes the credit card for a set amount. So if the customer walks out, or you just want to pay the order out instead of trying to find their credit card, you can just already have that card on file to get paid out. And as you can see, it just goes right back to the same exact menu. Now what's cool is that anytime you ring up an order under that type, it gets put into that order type. So the bar order has its own set of items. If I go to my to go, it's going to have its own set of items here as well. And I can just fish from one side to the other. So that's pretty much it for the main concepts of the software. Any additional questions, you can always give us a call at our 888 number, 888-405-8706 or 888-470-0878. Thanks so much.